I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, firstly, why you need this amazing analysis and what the problem is in the industry right now around transparency and analysing corporate reporting on greenhouse gas emissions and energy intensity within the industry. Now, I've got three columns on the screen right now, and there are three sort of main ways that you could look about analysing greenhouse gas intensity in the industry right now. First is through ESG ratings and scorecards, and these serve a valuable purpose across the industry, but there's a misconception about what these are and what these are not within the industry. What these represent is not an absolute benchmark of a company's performance on emissions for the environment or social issues or governance, so things like diversity or the board, transparency, bribery policies, etc. What they actually represent is the way that the company is managing its risk to its bottom line on those issues. So a company which may have very robust policies around managing the risk to its bottom line from climate change will have a higher rating than a company that does not devote much of its reporting in its regulatory disclosure to those issues and how the company is managing them and what the risks are. So you could have a company which has a AAA rating that could have twice the emissions profile, for example, as a company that has a BBB rating. And you see that with the inclusion of some companies who you think, well, surely that company isn't sustainable. You'd see it in an ESG index because they manage their risks very well. And you have a company like, for example, Tesla may not be included in that ESG index from major providers because it doesn't have the same level of risk management and disclosure about risks to its bottom line. Secondly, you can look at corporate reporting, and the trouble here is not that companies are withholding information or somehow keeping secrets. Companies are doing their best to navigate a changing landscape for regulatory disclosure, particularly around the environment. And so with every single iteration of corporate reporting, you see more information coming out into the market, and you will see better disclosure coming from companies and more granular disclosure. The problem is that between companies, it's all happening at a different rate, and each company operates in a slightly different fashion, may report either a corporate divisional total, a company total, or they may report asset level totals. There may be disclosure to regulators on different bases as well. And they may include different analyses within their reporting. Do they report scope 1 and 2? Do they report scope 3? What's included in scope 3? Between companies, this is naturally very different. And the third way is through a life cycle assessment, either a life cycle industry or a life cycle analysis, where you're looking at a very in-depth analysis of a company's supply chain to come up with a very detailed footprint analysis for, in our case, emissions. And that would be very detailed, would have very accurate information supplied by the company themselves. Very often a lot of internal information goes into that, and companies will use that to come up with their own figures. But the problem arises between different LCA providers in the marketplace. It's similar to the corporate reporting. It's not the same level of information always available between companies, and it's not always the same items are included within each LCA analysis. Which aspects of scope 3 are included in the upstream? How far downstream do you draw the system boundary? And there are no hard and fast rules in the industry at the moment about how that takes place. And typically you can't get information from these LCAs for many different companies. So if you are looking across the landscape wanting to do a benchmarking exercise, tools are currently not available to enable you to do that.